Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 27 of the Crubcast. My name is Kevin, also known as the Golden Bolt, and I'm going to throw it right over to our host for today's episode, Mr. Travis Mann, drinking big water here on the video feed. That's a really big water.
Thank you. Welcome, everybody, to the Crubcast number... It doesn't say. Welcome. Starting again. Welcome, everybody, to Crubcast number 22. I don't actually know.
We're not cutting that. I also said the episode when I started.
I already forgot. We're going to be talking about something that's very near and dear to our hearts today. We have with us infamous 12-hour YouTuber Moriarty. We got Brody. We got Kevin. I'll introduce you all one at a time and two at a time in just a moment. But today, we're going to be talking about the Game Awards. The Game Awards, we all know, Jeff Keighleys. Jeff Keighleys is not real to us, but he will be to us today. He is actually in Kevin's background.
He's staring
for our
at me.
video viewers at home.
Live video of him. He doesn't blink.
What about video viewers that aren't at home, though?
For video viewers that aren't at home, you can watch us on Spotify, you can listen to us on YouTube, and you can see us in person at Apple Video. Podcast, there we go.
I'll also throw out really quick, we are on the road to becoming Norway's #1 video game podcast.
Oh, I just got an ad. Sorry.
And we also stream these live on Twitch at twitch.tv/Crub.
Yeah, that's why I just got an ad, because we're streaming this live at Twitch. Kevin isn't here today. He is with us in spirit.
Yeah. Help us.
Follow us at youtube.com, twitch.tv/Crub_official.
Just the most chaotic intro I've ever been a part of.
So good. I love it.
This is A+. Help us, if you know anyone from Norway, have them listen to the podcast. We want to become
everyone in Norway. We like the Norsks. Norvies.
We're treating Crub as a brand like Plague Inc., where we're going to go one country at a time and just take it over. So Norway's first.
That's a great way to introduce us. Brody, what disease would you invent in Plague.Inc., and how did it affect your game of the year? No, I'm kidding. We'll be getting into that in just a moment. I got an ad. Are we still going?
Yeah, no. I want to hear his answer.
Okay, yeah. Brody, what would you invent in Plague Inc. to influence Game of the Year?
To influence Game of the Year, I would probably invent some kind of like vocal cord parasite type thing, but for people that play Fortnite and use the Fortnite voting service.
Hold on. I have an idea. I was going to say Fortnitus.
Fine. Yes,
that's
I would invent Fortnitus.
Yeah, that's when I get that ringing in my ear, you know?
So, like, in that game, though, you can do prions. So, create a prion.
Oh, true. That might be newer than when I last played, because prions are scary.
I would like to make a full disclaimer to everybody that Kevin did tell me ahead of time that I would be hosting this. I completely forgot. So, all of that is just gut reaction on the fly. I have so much more ad left. By the way, that
do you need to see us?
Why do I even have the stream open?
I don't know.
So I just I'm winging it. Really, I wanted to prepare something ahead of time.
We wing it every week. We wing it every week.
Frankly, how could you? How could you not have a written script for this?
We're going to be talking about the nominees for the Game Awards.
Yes. So we're going to run through, and I have not looked at most of these, and we're going to talk about what we would each vote for, and what Crub as an entity will vote for.
As an entity.
Yeah, because eventually, right, Crub's going to get that journo vote. And we're just going to put in our vote.
For now, we have the 10% fan vote that doesn't matter, that they don't actually count.
So that I do want to wrap it around to my first serious question, because Brody is never serious. Is that Fortnite thing true? I heard that going around that they're voting in Fortnite.
You can vote in Fortnite. So there is a custom map that you can do where you can go into Fortnite and you can do one of the custom modes and you can vote there. And I think that is a conflict of interest personally.
Absolutely.
Because Fortnite is a nominee.
Which they've never had before, for the record.
No, of course not. But Fortnite is a nominee in one of the categories, and you can vote for it in Fortnite. It feels like, voting for your favorite, I don't know, alderman in his home, right?
I don't like that at all.
It feels bad.
Your favorite what? In his
alderman? In his
alderman.
Home? Your favorite politician.
That's what you put your feet on instead of a couch.
Yes, that's an ottoman. Very close.
I've never heard this word before, or at least I've never retained it. I just had to look it up. Alderman.
I could teach you.
In England before 1974. And you know what else started in 1974?
Crub.
Baldur's
Game
Gate.
Awards.
Oh.
I'm trying, folks. I'm really trying.
So we're going to skip the best game when we get into this. We're going to save that for last because we have to, build suspense like they do. There will be no ads for games during this whole episode, no reveals.
But we need our world premiere, Kevin.
The only world premiere will be whether or not Brody has a foreskin.
He does not.
Do you want to know why we have a 95% male audience? It's that. Brody not having a foreskin.
Well,
wait.
I have bad news for the both of you.
I don't care. First up is Best Game Direction. I will read off the list for this one real quick. We have Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Marvel's Spider-Man 2, Mario Wonder, and Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Best Game Direction, I forget how they describe it, but M, would you like to describe what Best Game Direction usually is?
Best Game Direction. Right? Like, it's one of those things where it's like, what does it actually mean? Because I'm pretty sure that what they say is that it's about, like, who has the most creative vision, the most whatever.
That was A+.
Awarded for outstanding creative vision and innovation in game direction and design. I bit my tongue.
It's game, being creatively innovative, which is one of those things that, in the same way that cinematography in the Academy Awards just kind of gets lumped in with director, right? Even though they're very, very different things. Yeah. Best game direction. They're not talking about who's the best game director, which is inevitably what it always comes down to. And it's like, oh, well, Amy Hennig or the Kojima. Last of Us guy whose name I never remember, or Kojima. That's clearly the best game director. What's the most innovative game here?
Yeah.
I love Baldur's Gate 3. I think it's clearly not innovative because it's just Divinity Original Sin 2. And I think that's an example where you're looking at, is that the best game direction? No,
I think not heard that take before.
It's not the best game direction.
But for your reference, Trav, it was made by the guys who made Divinity.
Yeah,
right. It's the same as like Tears of the Kingdom, right? Tears of the Kingdom is just Breath of the Wild. So how can you say that's innovative?
Well, no. See, I'll push back on that specifically with Zelda, because that game does a lot of innovative things outside of having the same world design as Breath of the Wild.
Sure.
At the surface.
Sure. But I'm saying, I'm trying to make an analogy on how that can, if you look at Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, very similar games, and you can make the argument, how is it innovative to vote for Tears of the Kingdom? So that's part of the problem with this particular category. And most of the categories are pretty simple, right?
Yeah, this is the dumb one.
Narrative. This is the one that and the impact for change one.
Creative vision, innovation in game direction and design. I feel genuinely that the only three games that I've played here, which is Spider-Man, Mario, and Zelda, all three of those I could probably make a case for why they should win.
I don't think Spider-Man...
I have not played Alan Wake 2.
Spider-Man in terms
I cannot play Baldur's Gate.
Spider-Man in terms of traditional game direction, I think it does what it does very well, but that's not the scope of the award.
Sure.
Which is why this award sucks, right? Like every year, I argue this same thing every year.
I would make the case that just with how it handles mixing the story in with the open world and how it handles the open world in Spider-Man 2 would fall under game direction.
That's fair.
And I think that the way, like what it brings to the open world formula and how it treats opening up the open world is outstanding. I like it feels brand new to me. There's probably another game that's done it. I don't know. But like for me personally, I would have been like, yeah, sure, Spider-Man 2. I'd be okay with that.
I also appreciate, really quick before we jump into which games of these we each haven't played so we can unveil our blind spots. I really appreciated in Spider-Man 2 that it took from the same cloth a little bit as like a Ghost of Tsushima, a game I've mentioned a lot for really enjoying how it has environmental mini-mapless world design. The game still has a mini-map in Spider-Man 2, but all of the optional stuff that you do, whether it's the Sandman bases, whether it's the invisible invisible shielded Kraven bases that show up early on.
The blinds.
The blinds, thank you. All of those things, specifically, you can find them just based on looking at the world, and you can kind of make out, oh, there's a bunch of sand floating over there. I should go there. It's something that sounds very simple, but a lot of games just don't do it. And so I always appreciate seeing games that do. And Zelda is another really, really good one at doing exactly that.
I really loved that the open, like the things that you can do in the open world in each region, which in this case, it's like districts in New York, or whatever. District probably isn't the right term. They don't open up to you on the map until you've done enough in that region. And yes. That's a really big simplification. The way that they handle it, I think, should be the norm for open worlds like that going forward almost. Yeah.
Now you said, Trav, that you haven't played Alan Wake 2 or Baldur's Gate 3. Those are
correct.
I haven't played either of them yet either. There's too many games on the plate for me to have done it yet. I also haven't played Mario Wonder. I just got my copy that came in today. It's actually sitting right over here in front of me. Brody, which of these have you and have you not played so far?
I have not played Alan Wake 2 or Marvel's Spider-Man. I think I'm the only one that's actually played Mario Wonder.
I've played it. I have not beaten it yet.
Okay, I wanted to because that game will not win Game of the Year. I just got to
World 3.
Hell yeah. That game will not win Game of the Year, but I wanted to sing its praises for Best Game Direction specifically because they've documented a bit of the thought process that went into that, which is kind of the antithesis to what they were doing with Mario for so long, which is every level, do something weird. Do something weird and different and make it memorable and unlike anything else in the game. Do something that you just don't see in Mario or you don't see in like 2D platformers or whatever, and just make it creative and interesting every time. So from the perspective of direction specifically and the idea of being innovative, I think that one deserves its shot at that title.
Yes, that's exactly what I was going to say, because it does something that I originally was going to say that Pizza Tower has a chance at Game of the Year for, because every level has, not literally every level, but for Mario, I mean, not every level, has its own gimmick. There is very rarely something in Pizza Tower that repeats itself twice as a mechanic, which means that no matter how good you are at one thing, you always feel like the difficulty is scaling because you're always having to overcome a new challenge. And I think that it handled that incredibly well. But now Mario Wonder has done something very similar, and I feel like that being the biggest thing to make it even have a chance for Pizza Tower has been diminished.
Which games have you not played?
Sorry.
So I have not played Alan Wake or Wonder yet. I've played, I don't know, a couple hours of Spider-Man, and I've played enough of Tears of the Kingdom. I actually do agree with what I've heard about Wonder with regards to this, because I know that they basically gave the development team kind of the reins to do whatever they wanted, which is cool. And I think that has a real shot, but I haven't played it to say myself. I would probably go here with Zelda, simply because of the various ways that they've made it so that it's very highly systemic, right?
Yeah.
Lots of things that you can do that will let you play through the game, regardless of the intended direction that they come up with. Like any shrine that you're able to piecemeal all these things together and create a ladder up to the top and completely bypass the entire way to do it.
And would you agree? Cool. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
And would you agree that if Breath of the Wild happened to be first person, that it would fall under the immersive sim subgenre?
I don't think it has to be first person to fall under that.
It does.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an M-sim. I think it's an M-sim. I think it's one of those few games where not a whole lot of Breath of the Wild isn't fully systemic, and I think that's really cool, and you don't see that a lot. And I know that systemic kind of a buzzword, it's systemic, but in reality, Breath of the Wild actually is a bunch of things. This causes this causes this, and now you get that dwarf fortress cats dying from bars effect, which is really, really neat. I understand why people have a problem with Tears of the Kingdom. I really do. I super get it. But I think that in terms of my experiences, it's the most innovative of these. But I think that Wonder is probably the one that, from what I've heard, deserves it more.
Oh, no, I'm going to fall back on everything I said. I think at the end of the day, I think Zelda has my vote.
I think,
just for the record.
So I think I would say Zelda as well, because one of the things that it does is it does the sequel thing where it's the same world as the prior game, and that's a thing that a lot of games fall into as a trap, and yet it does so in such a way that completely recontextualizes the entire map. The areas that went underused are completely used here in Tears of the Kingdom. There's obviously the other stuff that I will still be vague about just to avoid any spoilers for those that haven't played it yet, which I think is one of the coolest things that any game has done in a long, long time, because it takes even the most experienced Zelda player who did everything in Breath of the Wild and takes them back to square one and forces them to item manage to get from point A to B, which is a thing that you can easily avoid doing in Tears of the Kingdom otherwise, outside of those new areas. Take that and combine it with the fact that there's just a whole essentially programming language within the game where you can just put together whatever the hell you want. Whether it makes it a good traditional Zelda game, I don't care, because there's not really such a thing as a traditional Zelda game anymore.
This is traditional. Yeah, like Breath of the Wild and
I would still argue it falls under that, but
it's not even that. The thing is, it's outsold all of the previous games so much that this is Zelda. What Zelda is for people.
This outsold
right?
Like
you can't
go
back and be like, oh, Zelda 2. No, nobody played like Zelda 2 is not Zelda.
I'll take that. I'll give you
Zelda.
Ocarina of Time. Ocarina of Time sold half of what Breath of the Wild did, and that was across every version. Like
exactly.
You're right.
The definitive version of Zelda is Breath of the Wild.
But I think that it would get. We had a whole spoiler cast where we talked a lot about this, so Trav and I will be quiet mostly. But with regards to Zelda going forward, I would think. But check that out at youtube.com/@CrubOfficial. It's only on the YouTube feed. I think Zelda's the one that will win, and Zelda's the one that I would vote for anyway, but obviously none of us can speak to Alan Wake. Brody, what would be the one that would get your vote here?
Mario Wonder's getting my vote, if only because I haven't played enough Baldur's Gate 3, and Zelda was fun, but I had too much of it. I played it for twice the amount of time I played Breath of the Wild, and by the time I was done with it, I was just happy to be done with it, whereas Breath of the Wild left me satisfied, it filled my tummy, whereas Tears of the Kingdom overstuffed.
So who was your first romance option?
In
the bear.
Okay.
Oh, Baldur's Gate. Oh no, I haven't played enough Baldur's Gate to even get there. So that's why
we do Shadowheart. You're a failure.
We mean in Zelda. Like, are you gonna have sex with the bear in Zelda?
Is there a bear in Zelda?
Yeah, there are bears in Zelda.
I guess.
What?
Is Ganon?
Bro didn't even play Breath of the Wild.
Go to the Hebra Mountains. There's a bunch of bears.
Okay, we're talking about a different kind of bear.
You can ride the bear.
Yeah.
Okay. I was thinking of the other kind of bear.
Yeah.
Oh. I count as one of those. No, okay.
Moving along to best narrative is the next game.
And I don't think we're going to spend as much time as we did on.
That was probably the worst one to start with, honestly.
That one sucks because there's just a lot of.
No, we should have started with best esports event.
God.
It's also just all the Game of the Year contenders except one.
Yeah. Which is always how that's always how game direction is. Continue.
Yeah, always every year, and that's what I'm saying. It just becomes best director to best cinematographer.
It's like how there's MVP in football and offensive player of the year. Offensive player of the year is just the non-quarterback award because that's just how it goes.
So for best narrative, we've got Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Marvel's Spider-Man 2 again, and then we've got the two new ones with Cyberpunk 2077's Phantom Liberty, the DLC, and then Final Fantasy 16.
Which of those have you played of the two new ones? Have you played 16 or Cyberpunk's DLC yet?
I haven't played the DLC. Man, I'm so excited for it. I got to be honest.
I haven't played Cyberpunk at all yet, and I'm looking forward to it soon. I still think
it's Game of the Year, man. 2020 Game of the Year. I know it didn't work.
But retroactively.
Like on a PlayStation and stuff, it worked really well for me. I had no problems with it when I played it on my PC. I know that if you played it on a PS4, you never played it. Like, it just never turned on for you. But for the people who did get to experience it, I think it was easily the best Game of the Year for me. So I'm really, really excited for Phantom Liberty. Like, crazy excited. That being said, for me, the best narrative is obviously Baldur's Gate 3. Because, boy, how do you compete with, 57 different storylines that are entirely yours?
That's fair. Yeah.
Right? Like, there's so much in this that I keep finding stuff, right? That I'm like, wow, I have 80 hours in just Act 1, right? And there's so much more. And I know I've killed entire characters. I just killed them off. They're not in my world.
Can I just throw out, narratively speaking, I'll open the can of worms. Baldur's Gate is what a game like Starfield pretends to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. How do you, when Baldur's Gate is there, how do you compete? And you can't, right? You just can't.
Yeah.
I mean, what was it, like a month or two after the game came out, the voice actor for Asterion was like, yeah, there's a quest people like nobody's found.
They didn't find the quest yet. And it's like a 2-hour-long extra quest line, and nobody in the world had found it yet. It's insane how much content there is in this. And the thing is that it's all really good. Like, it's not that kind of Bethesda-esque storyline where you're like, oh, this is content, sure, this is hashtag content. No, it's good, and like it's built and it feels like it's your storyline in a way that I haven't felt in a long time in a game, right? Maybe actually since Cyberpunk, where like you're playing through the game and you feel like you've played your game.
Yeah.
You know? And so Baldur's Gate is such an easy choice for me here. Even having not played, Cyberpunk or 16.
That's I hate to be like I have to vote Baldur's Gate by default because it deserves it anyway, but it's the only one I think I've played on that list. Although I have heard, I've heard for people that are into for people that like made the cult classic Alan Wake the cult classic that it was. Alan Wake 2 is apparently everything.
I've heard great things about the story.
Yeah. I'm very excited to play it.
Yeah, same. Trav.
But again, that's a next year thing for me, I think.
Yeah. Trav, what about you? Have you played 16 or Cyberpunk?
I've only played Spider-Man 2 on this list, so...
Adam Sandler should be Spider-Man.
Yeah, so my award's going to go to Adam Sandler. I think I have a different list because Best Narrative is third for me. So I might need someone to send me the link that you guys are using.
Here, I will...
Did we just skip over Best Adaptation? Because that's the second one for me.
Oh, no, I think... I didn't realize
okay.
I didn't realize that M sent it to me and not in the chat. I didn't think about that. There you go.
Oh, it's all good.
The list that we're looking at. Thanks, Game Informer.
All right, cool.
For me,
because I was going to try to lead into that.
End.
Okay. I was going to try to take that, my answer, and then lead right into the next one. I'm like, oh, I don't have the right list. But that's okay because we're going to be moving anyway into the next category.
Talk about my best narrative.
No, you're not. Actually, I voted to skip you 3 days ago. You'll get the memo someday. So
I'm gonna go play
Kevin has no autonomy in terms of narrative. Just kidding. What is it?
So I haven't played Cyberpunk yet. Like I said, Alan Wake and Baldur's Gate I can't speak to either. I have played Final Fantasy 16, not completely. I do know how it ends, and I don't know that I like how it ends. But everything up until a certain point is incredible. It's really, really well done. I think that the way that they set up the demo in that narrative was one of the most interesting hooks that I think any game demo has done. It's one of the most successful game demos that's ever been made. And I really love how, as much as the game skips around in the same way that 15 kind of did, this one does so in a way where there are a couple different time skips, but then you kind of feel an organic community building around the main hub area. Like, characters will just disappear when a time skip happens, and there's a new character there, and they don't really explain who they are, but it's not a bad thing in this game, because it's like, oh, they've become part of this town. They are helpful members of this community. Clive trusts them, so will I. And I haven't seen a game do that well in a way where they don't overtell you about new characters. They just kind of say, this is a character, and they'll have a side quest eventually, but like, that's Steve over there. He cooks, but he still has a story, and it's really neat. I would still probably say Spider-Man, because Spider-Man ends in a much more satisfying way, as much as Spider-Man does go Marvel-y at times. It's Spider-Man, though, so Spider-Man can be Marvel-y where other Marvel properties maybe shouldn't be.
He's right behind me, isn't he?
I love Thor 4. So my big thing with Spider-Man is like, yeah, it's really the only one I could vote for by default, but I mean, it's probably one of the best Spider-Man stories I've seen outside of the comics Full stop.
And even including the comics in a lot of ways. Like, I haven't read as many comics as you have, but like from what people have also said that are more comic tuned,
I would not object to that. Like, the reason I'm saying that is because there's so many, and I would need to take time to give that some proper thought. But I mean, like, I wouldn't rule that out. I think that it's phenomenal.
I still haven't got the chance to play it, but that makes me even more excited because the first game is my favorite Spider-Man movie. So
this is a better Spider-Man movie than 1 was.
Yeah.
Everything 1 struggled with, this game does perfectly in comparison. Not perfectly in general, but like you can tell they learned from every issue they had with pacing in 1 that they just fixed it.
Okay. That's very good.
Like, literally, the worst thing I could say about it is that the opening is a little rushed, but that's it.
Well, I think if you want to find out more about your thoughts on Spider-Man,
that's true.
Probably want to push you guys towards the
last week's episode.
Last week's episode,
or 2 weeks ago, whatever it was,
or 2 weeks. Our time is different than their time.
We operate in the hyperbolic time chamber,
where there is a spoiler cast on Spider-Man 2.
Yes, and that's also on the audio realm. So those of you that listen in the audio realm, that one's an official episode of the podcast. I don't know why. Trav, what's the next category that we're going to run through?
Yes, speaking of living in the hyperbolic time chamber of hyperbole, we have Best Art Direction, featuring Alan Wake 2, Hi-Fi Rush, Lies of P, Mario Brothers Wonder, and once again, Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Now, Lies of P is a game that I am fascinated by, seeing literally nothing about it, except apparently it's a Dark Souls-esque game, and I just see the character on the box art and think, wow, that's a small colonial child that would probably die if they saw Mario. So I don't have anything to say there. I've literally only played Mario Wonder and Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, so to save my thoughts.
To have played any of these for their art, right? Like, you've seen the art, you've seen the gameplay. I think it's more a question of whether you've seen any of it. I've seen Hi-Fi Rush, I've seen Lies of P, and I think
some of it you do need to see how it interacts. Though I guess, you can see that by watching other people play.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to kick it off to Brody first because I want to throw him a curveball. Brody, why do you hate Hi-Fi Rush?
Whoa. Hold on now. I haven't played Hi-Fi Rush, but I'm considering giving it my vote because it is such a breath of fresh air. The fact that level of stylization is now possible in like real-time graphics is awesome. That said, Mario Bros. Wonder is a beautiful game. Every single frame of that game is
the art direction is superb.
Painting. Like, I could go either way. Maybe I should do Mario Bros. Wonder because I've just factually seen more of that game and can make a better judgment on that. But Hi-Fi Rush, if it wins, I'm happy with that. It deserves it.
Oh, go ahead. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, one thing that I think is interesting with Mario Wonder also is I want to give a quick shout out to New Super Mario Bros. U, because that game did do some interesting art direction things that I think Wonder is very clearly like, hey, what if we actually just do that for the whole game and go nuts, which is the point of the whole game, I know. But Mario Bros. U got a bad rap for being a new Mario game, and I think it's not new as in new Super Mario Bros. Like that series. Yeah. And every time I hear cool things about Wonder, I'm like, man, you could see like 10 years ago where they were going with that. And that's really cool to see 100%. That they finally got there. That's all.
So for me, I think Lies of P is probably the one that I would lean to on this one. Just because the art style is so incredibly cool, the character designs are cool, the costumes are cool, the bosses are cool. Everything I see about this game looks stellar. Yeah. Incredibly neat. It's one of those things where it has, and I think this is hard with Dark Souls and Souls-esques and Souls-likes and Soulborn and all that shit, right? I think that it is difficult to look at one of them and go, oh, that's this game. Oh, it's, like they all kind of blend together into this sort of dark melange of gray and sword, right? Whereas Lies of P is so unique and so it stands out so much that when you see it, you're like, that's that Pinocchio game.
That's interesting because I feel like from what I've seen, Lies of P has the visual style of every game that tries to be Dark Souls but isn't made by FromSoft. And it's it's the Remnant from the Ashes, it's Lords of the Fallen, whatever. they all kind of look. They all have this weird sort of look to them, where they all look like they're trying to be Dark Souls, but they're not.
I think this game does it in a more stylized way, and I think it does it in a more cohesive way, because a lot of the other Souls clones just kind of do, like you said, they go for that style. This one at least seems to be like, hey, what if we actually are inspired?
Mm-hmm. And that I think is a really big factor that maybe some people are considering, but I'm not seeing it around the conversation, is a lot of it is consistency, which is where I think Mario Wonder excels, because there's so much new stuff that all stands out on its own and yet still fits into this Mario-esque art style. And so, hey, if Lies of P fits into that as well, like everything is very consistent with its art direction, then I'm more excited to give that a try once I am no longer broke.
It's on Xbox Game Pass.
I can't afford $15 right now.
That's fair.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just create a bunch of new emails and do the $1.
Patreon.com/Crub. If you want Trav to play Hi-Fi Rush, the money goes to Chris first, but hey, maybe eventually. If you go to patreon.com/Crub, though, for the actual pitch really quick, you can join the founder tier for $5 a month. You get all of our live-streamed versions of these episodes with exclusive pre- and post-show content. On this most recent pre-show, we talked a lot of shit about a known YouTube creator. So you should check that out. It's not as controversial as it sounds. But we also have bonus episodes, such as discussions on a bunch of different shows and movies, including the entirety of Ted Lasso, including the Barbie movie. If you ever wanted to see two white dudes talk about that, that's an option.
You can also see our bracket on horses.
That's true.
Yeah, so that will be coming out soon. We live streamed it yesterday, and if you didn't catch it, you'll be able to catch it on Patreon whenever that drops.
Yes.
But it should be soon.
The best video game horses bracket. It was a bracket of what? 24?
27.
27.
And that was trimmed from 30.
Yeah. So go to patreon.com/Crub, join the founder tier, get a bunch of cool perks, and help support the growth of Crub and Trav's in hi-fi Russianing.
Mm-hmm. I'll be financially stable soon. I don't need this, but
I don't care.
I appreciate it. I want you to pay. I want you to give them money first. That's what I'm trying to say.
So as far as this one goes, I haven't played Hi-Fi Rush yet. I keep meaning to. I have Game Pass. I just haven't played it. I also have not played Lies of P. So the only one I could vote for that I've played is Tears of the Kingdom. I will say that famous Twitch streamer JTart9, our fellow co-Crubber, would absolutely vote for Hi-Fi Rush, and he would say that Crub should vote for Hi-Fi Rush. So my vote is for Alan Wake 2.
He will hold us at gunpoint.
My vote is that Crub votes Alan Wake 2, because that game is freaking gorgeous. That game is absolutely stunning. That might be the best looking game currently ever made. In terms of pure visual fidelity, that might be the current top. So
best score and music.
Yeah. Brody,
right,
what do we have?
Moving on? Okay.
Brody, what do we have here?
Best score and music, we have Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3. Should I be saying the composer names? Because they're here too.
No, okay.
Fine.
I want to hear you pronounce that.
We don't support individual art here. We're an 8-person podcast.
All right. You want to hear me to say the Baldur's Gate one?
No, I actually would like for you to say all of these names.
Yeah, I want to hear you say these names.
All right. Apologies in advance.
The last one's the hardest.
Alan Wake 2 by composer Petri Alanko. Petri? Petri-san.
This is a
Baldur's Gate 3 by composer Borislav Slavov. Final Fantasy 16 by composer Masayoshi Soken. Hi-Fi Rush audio director Shuichi Kobori. And The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, composed by the Nintendo Sound Team. I think I really
so confident in how you said all of these, but I know one of them was wrong.
It was the last
one. It has to be.
It was the Nintendo Sound Team.
Yeah, you said the last one wrong.
So confident.
Trav, let's go with you first.
I literally only played Zelda.
Em, let's go with you next.
Thing is, right, like part of me wants to say that I remember any song from Baldur's Gate 3, but every time I've ever played it, right, like I know there's music there, and I even know that like I've been like, oh, this is okay, but it's all that kind of Lord of the Rings fantasy thing, right?
Atmospheric.
It's also made by Larian Studios, which means that like 75% of the time the music cuts out and doesn't come back in combat.
Sure. It's one of those things where it just, like, it's there, and I know it's there, and I've even commented on it, but I can't think of a single thing. So for me, it would be Zelda, because I recognize Zelda in my head immediately. You know, like, I can be like, oh, that's in my head, oh, here's the Zelda song, right? But I can't do that with any Baldur's Gate song.
I haven't played it, but I know the right answer to this question is Final Fantasy.
Final Fantasy 16, without a doubt, is the best soundtrack this year. There's no question. I love Zelda's soundtrack. I think the final section of Tears of the Kingdom is one of the most complete moments that I think I've ever had with any game, and the music is part of that.
Yes.
Like, I was in tears by the end, pardon the pun. Like, it was that good. Like, that it just hit me that well that everything came together and had it made the best Zelda ending that's ever existed. That said, the rest of the soundtrack is still just little bloop-diddy-boop noises, like the rest of Breath of the Wild soundtrack was. It's more complete than that now, because the world is more fixed this time around. You know, they're rebuilding, and I like that as an audio design touch, which is why it's funny that Zelda's not in best audio design. Our next category. But no, 16, that has one of the hardest soundtracks that I have ever heard in a game. It is disgusting how good that game's music is. And it's a shame that Hi-Fi Rush is also in this category, because that would probably be the default winner, because it's a game about music at its core, but Final Fantasy 16 slaps. That's the winner.
That was one of those games where when they announced it and they said the composer, right? Like, people got excited over the composer.
Yes. It's Final Fantasy music cranked up to 14. Like, it's just whew.
Funnily enough, I think he did the soundtrack for Final Fantasy.
That's also why people love it. There's a lot of 14 callbacks in 16, for better or worse. Sometimes there's a whole side quest that's like a section that's just MMO side quests out of nowhere. That's not related to this. Just it's very 14 and it's weird. We all voted, right?
Yeah,
we could say we did. Best audio design.
Yeah.
Which, again, this is one of those things like game direction where audio design is typically going to be given to whoever the best song, right? Like, it's the same sort of thing.
Which it shouldn't.
Thankfully, this year that's not as much the case, it looks like.
Yeah.
So we have Alan Wake 2, Dead Space, Hi-Fi Rush, Spider-Man 2, and Resident Evil 4.
And this is one of those things where, like, Dead Space, I hadn't thought about it since it came out, right? But, like, yeah, no, they did a good job with the audio design on that. They did an incredibly good job.
I have not played the remake, but even if it's as good as the original, I'd be like, yeah, Dead Space should get it.
It's good. It's really good. Resident Evil 4, they did a good job too, right? Like, it's also got good sound design. The weapons and the atmosphere and the environment, they all sound really good. This is one of those ones where it's like, I don't feel that I can make a vote on this if I were, one of the people in the academy without having examples in front of me. And it's such an unfair thing, because all I can do is go, well, yeah, I remember Dead Space. It sounded pretty cool. And I don't think that sucks. That sucks about this.
Yeah. Trav, what about you? Or Brody, no, you first. You spoke first.
I was going to say that I haven't played any of these, so it's hard for me to even say. If I had to give it to any game this year, Talos Principle 2, maybe, but
that missed the cut. I think that released
it
after,
did,
which is weird because there are games like one of the best fighting games that came out after Talos Principle 2. I think that's in this list.
Oh, that is unfortunate. That game deserves.
When did Talos come out?
November 2nd.
Yeah, no, there's a game that came out after that's in these nominees. That's messed up.
It's got a 100% critic recommended on OpenCritic. Like, it is. It's an incredible game. Yeah.
I remember I played the first Talos Principle, and I was young. I wasn't too impressed with it. I've been wanting to go back to it. So that's interesting for me to hear.
Yeah, well, they put it on the PlayStation.
Is it on? Mode. Is it on the second tier?
Yeah, with its DLC. And I must say, it's you have to play. If you play it, you have to play it with its DLC, because the DLC is phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal, and integral to the sequel as well.
Trav, I will jump to you. Best audio design.
I've played Spider-Man. I think it's cool when they go thwip thwip, and we found out that the sounds were partially made by people actually going.
Same.
With their mouths, clarify.
The one thing about Spider-Man 2 that I will give it credit, because I don't think it should be in this category, outside of two specific things. One is a section that I'm not going to mention that we mentioned in the spoiler cast that's really, really, really cool, which is technically not audio design, so there's that. The other is the fact that it was able to use 3D audio even if you don't have surround sound or the 3D headphones. And it's just stuff like the menus having the little menu clicky noise as you go from like the left menu all the way to the right. That is now a thing that pans through regular speakers, which is just really cool. And I will always pop for that. I have not played the rest of them still. I just got Resident Evil 4 recently. Hi-Fi Rush is the correct answer, I think, though. If we're going to have like a correct answer to this, it's a game entirely based around its audio design.
Yeah.
Where it has to be like perfectly synced at pretty much all times. So I don't know how it can't be that. Unless it was bad, in which case then it would lose. We are going to move along to Best Performance. Em, why don't you run through the list here? This is Best Voice Performance, or Best
We've
Voice /
got Ben
acting.
Starr as Clive Rosfield. Rosfield, yeah. You can tell I played Final Fantasy 16. We've got Cameron Monaghan as Cal Kestis in the new Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Idris Elba as Solomon Reed in Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty. Melanie Liburd as Saga Anderson in Alan Wake 2, Neil Newbin as Asterion in Baldur's Gate 3, and Yuri Lowenthal as Peter Parker in Marvel's Spider-Man 2. I feel like they all did a fine job, which is the hard thing. I have a problem with Idris Elba because he's Idris Elba, right? I've seen what he does in Phantom Liberty, and like immediately it's one of those things where it's like, I don't know. Like does he deserve it? But he's doing the Chris Pratt, right? Like he's just Chris Pratt. He's just Idris Elba. Cameron Monaghan, he feels like he's really kind of in I don't know, gotten himself into the character of Cal Kestis. He shows up and does that kind of thing where he's not just Clive or Chris Pratting it. But the rest of these are really, really talented, and I don't know. I think it's a whole different thing. Obviously, Asterion's voice actor has become prolific. He's really cool, and he does some very cool stuff. Peter Parker is great.
I was going to say, right? I like saying prolific and then jumping right to Yuri Lowenthal, one of the most prolific voice actors. Like, perfect jump.
Well, I don't know what to do with these because it's really hard, right? It's one of those things where I feel like, who do you choose as the best performer? I don't know, man.
It's a tough call because if I'm going, okay, when I played the first Spider-Man, it was like, oh, Yuri Lowenthal is now my favorite Peter Parker, like bar none, hands down. No I love it. He's incredible. It's amazing. But I haven't played Spider-Man 2. But I don't want to say it on technicality because Asterion has some of the best voice acting.
It's incredible. He's really incredible.
Video games. Like, I think if I'm giving it to one of them, I'm giving it to Neil because they let him be an actual voice actor.
Yeah, he takes that character and absolutely runs away with it. He built, like, one of the cool things about these games is that the voice actors are so integral to the characters themselves, versus like a Peter Parker where that character is very much Peter Parker, regardless of who's the voice actor, right? Asterion, I feel, is as much Neil as anything else. He is such a huge part of it. That's a good shout.
If you haven't seen the video, there's they did the whole cast of Baldur's Gate played a D&D session together in character on camera. Yeah. And they're just like, they're having an absolute ball with it. And you can tell how different they are from the character voices between their own voices, how much augmenting they have to do, how much they actually have to use their skills and talent. Like, it's very clear. And it's amazing. He did a great job.
Trav,
he did an incredible job, yeah.
Trav, you've only played Spider-Man of these, right?
Yes.
So that one will answer that one.
Also, fellas, I want to shoot it out there that there's 30 of these, and we are only up to 6.
Oh, there's a lot.
Nearly an hour into the podcast.
No, don't worry.
Well,
don't worry.
Much like the actual Game Awards, we'll just skip.
Yeah, there's a bunch we're gonna jump through. Like, there's a whole list here.
I was gonna say.
Yeah, don't worry. I will say I got as much as I think that Yuri Lowenthal's performance was incredible, again, maybe even better than Spider-Man 1 a lot of the time, especially since he has to do the whole Venom thing, where he's got to like be angry Peter, which is not a thing that Yuri Lowenthal's voice really is tuned to, but he does it the best out of any. I mean, there's only been 1 or 2 times that we've seen a good guy become Venom and get corrupted by him and then have to do the I'm kind of edgy now thing. He did it very well.
Yeah.
Ben Starr as Clive is again incredible. Some of the pained screams that he has, they had to hurt. And like I know that hurts a lot of voice actors, but like these were like blood curdling, like you murdered his dog in front of him screams. It's so good. I can't speak to Asterion, but for me, that Clive is such a well-performed character that it pretty much carries the game through any of its shortcomings. And that's why I kind of give it a pass for where the plot seems to meander near the end, is because Clive is just that good. Jumping along to 2 that we're not going to talk about. I lied. We'll talk about this one briefly because this one's more important. Innovation in accessibility. We have Diablo 4, Forza Motorsport, Hi-Fi Rush, Spider-Man 2, Mortal Kombat 1, and Street Fighter 6.
Why is Diablo on this list?
Why is Diablo on this list?
Really quickly, can you explain again the accessibility settings that Diablo 4 has?
So I may be the only person who's played Diablo 4 in the entire Crubosphere, all right? I was gifted to me by one of my viewers, and I felt like I need to play it now, even though at that point it was a Blizzard game, an Activision Blizzard game. So like I didn't want to pay them, but I had to play it, right? So I played this game, and I look at accessibility. I think accessibility is kind of an important thing. I'll go into the accessibility. It is a single page, and it has things like make the subtitle small, medium, or large. Make the cursor small, medium, or large. Make the UI font small, medium, or large. You can't change the colors of a lot of things. It has the very generic kind of like trypotonia or whatever it's called for, colorblindness, right? It's got like the most standard stuff, and then it has a bunch of key bindings. That's it. There's been more in like indie games. Why is Diablo 4 in here? What did they innovate that I'm missing? Because like if I missed it, everybody did.
So like I hate to sound like a tinfoil hat kind of person. I try not to even entertain those kind of thoughts. But how the fuck is Diablo 4 on this list? I don't get it. Like, someone has to have like been a fan of Diablo 4 or
there's
something.
There's one thing that I know it does that like I can kind of idly see, which is that it will make noise as you get closer to loot if you want to turn that on. But this is a looter slasher. Right? That is useless. You're just gonna have ping, 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 ping.
So
this is like in Borderlands.
None of us have played Street Fighter 6 or Mortal Kombat 1, I don't think, or Forza.
Well, I've heard good things about the modern.
I don't think we need to vote on any of these. I just, like if you have something to say, I guess.
Yeah, I think we have to give some level of credence to Street Fighter 6 because they decided, as a fighting game, to change their control scheme, make it easier to comprehend and understand and use, and they got a lot of people on board because of that.
Yeah, what I was going to say is that we're 45 minutes into this podcast, so none of us have played pretty much any of these games besides Diablo and Spider-Man. Street Fighter is the only one I think is really super worth highlighting outside of Spider-Man, and Spider-Man's only worth highlighting because Sony's first-party games have just done a really good job with accessibility settings. They've
been doing such a great job for a long time.
Since around 2020 with The Last of Us 2. Maybe a little before that is where it started.
Dude, The Last of Us had some incredible accessibility.
The fact that you can play that game with echolocation is insane. Spider-Man, I don't think you can do that. But Spider-Man 2, I can tell you just from looking at Rift Apart's accessibility settings, it's A+. So I don't think that any of us really necessarily are warranted to have a vote here because we're advocating. Not many of us use these features, and they are necessary features that games should have. So Spider-Man 2 or Street Fighter 6 both deserve A+ for that.
I am just very pleased that we're at the point where it used to be, oh, this game has subtitles. That's incredible.
Yeah.
And now we've got some of the accessibilities in some of these Ubisoft games. Ubisoft's always been really good with accessibility.
Yes. Yeah. They've been good.
And then the accessibility stuff in the Sony games, man.
And Microsoft are picking up too. I want to give Microsoft a good shout.
is picking up. Yeah, absolutely.
Especially with their adaptive controller.
Which is incredible in and of itself.
Just platform-wide, give Microsoft a huge shout for that. I can't speak to what Hi-Fi Rush does with its accessibility settings, but I'm sure it's great.
So games for Impact,
yes.
There's only one game on here I've even played, right? So I don't know that there's a whole lot to say about any of these. We have A Space for the Unbound, Chance of Senar, Goodbye Volcano High, Chia, Terra Nil, and Venba. I've seen Chia because it gets promoted all the time on Epic and stuff like that.
That was a Game Awards announcement type game too, I think.
Yeah, so it's out there. I've never played it. I have played Terra Nil, which is at one point it was a free indie game that was being on like itch, and now they're a proper game. It's about climate change, and it's more of like a puzzle game in the sense of if you remember the first merge game where you could like plant down plants and stuff. It was called Triple Town. It's a little bit like Triple Town, but like a proper full-size game. So that exists, and that's cool, but that's the only one I have anything to say about.
I think we can probably, unless Travis has anything to say, we can move on.
I think Chance of Sonar is a pretty cool idea. I've seen a family member play it where you're like this person in a new land trying to use pattern and all that kind of recognition skills to try to decipher a language. It's a really cool idea. I do recommend looking into it.
It's one I want to get around to eventually. Cause it seems like
but I haven't played it myself.
Yeah.
I've heard that Volcano High has good LGBT representation. That's all I got.
Hell yeah. Brody, do you have anything you want to say quickly before we move on to the next three we're skipping?
No, I just that I want to play Chance of Sonar. That's it.
Okay. I'm going to lump these two together real quick. Best ongoing game, Apex Legends, no. Cyberpunk, no. Final Fantasy 14 wins. Fortnite and Genshin Impact. Fortnite should not be here if you can vote in Fortnite.
Vote for it. You can vote for
it in Fortnite. Yeah. That being said, I think Fortnite is probably the winner for it, quite frankly.
Wait, hold on. Can you vote for other games in Fortnite?
Yes.
No. Yeah. No, you can only vote for Fortnite in Fortnite.
I would. That would be hilarious.
That would be okay at that point.
Press the button to vote for Fortnite.
I think Fortnite's done an incredible job of being a game that is continuously good to play. Right? And I think that's kind of the thing about being an ongoing game. This month,
out here shouting Genshin.
Well, they released their Fortnite OG mode, and they crossed 6 million active players again. Right? Yeah. It's the most played game in the world right now. I think that there's something to be said about that for sure.
I was going to say, I think that Fortnite had gotten a little quiet up until the release of OG. Everyone that I knew that was playing had pretty much either stopped talking about it or fallen off. So I, by default, vote for Final Fantasy 14 for this one. I don't play it, but that's just the one that...
I hear so many people talk about it.
Like, the fact that it's still going.
That's very fair. Very, very fair.
And then,
but can you believe that they put under best community support Destiny 2?
That's where I was going to go next. Speaking of games that shouldn't be there, Fortnite should only not be there because you can vote in Fortnite. That's the only reason I think that's a huge conflict of interest, like you had said earlier.
Agreed.
Destiny 2, they just fired their community team.
Yeah, their whole team.
And that was a Bungie thing we found out. That wasn't even like a Sony bad. That was like
Bungie was like
Bungie. Like, we're going to fire our team.
So best community support, we've got Baldur's Gate, Cyberpunk, Destiny, Final Fantasy 14, and then No Man's Sky. So yeah, Destiny 2, man. Why is it there? Same thing as Diablo before. Why is it? Why would you even accept that nomination? Why wouldn't you be, self-aware enough as a company to be like, this is a bad time for you to nominate us for this?
Yeah.
Like, I'll be totally honest. I think it's weird that even Cyberpunk is on these because
I agree.
All they really did was finish the game.
Yeah, they finished the game.
They should deserve credit for that. Like, no.
Baldur's Gate released a patch every 2 days to make sure everything was fixed, and they spent 3 years in early access. Final Fantasy 14 built a whole new game and then managed to make themselves something that people actually want to play. No Man's Sky continues to be one of the best space adventure games ever after being the worst game on the planet for a while. Right? Like, these are games that Destiny 2 should not... Destiny 2 isn't even a fun game anymore. They took out like 85% of that game. They've just thrown it away. Why? Destiny 2. That's my opinion on this. Thank you.
I'm going to vote for Destiny 2. Best independent game.
Dave the Diver. It's Dave the Diver.
So I'm just going to run through these again very quickly because there's also best debut indie game. So there's Cocoon, Dave the Diver, Dredge, Sea of Stars, and Viewfinder. There was a huge debate about the word of the concept of indie because Nexon owns the company that made Dave the Diver. I didn't know that.
Yeah. These are not indie games. Sea of Stars was promoted like crazy.
Yeah.
Viewfinder is like one of the most talked about games for a while there, and it came from somebody. I want to say through like Portal or Valve or something like that. Right? Like, these are not what I would consider to be particularly indie.
I mean, people are still considering like Annapurna games indie games, which at
right
this point,
is Annapurna indie? No, Annapurna is not indie.
Outer Wilds showed up today at the Nintendo Indie Direct, and I'm like, I guess technically, but also
that's the thing. I feel like we have lost what indie is with the kind of culmination of double and triple I, and this sort of like return to double A that we're seeing again. Where is a triple I bigger than a double A? It might be. And what do those even mean anymore? How do you tell somebody what indie is anymore? Is it like less than 20 people on the team? Because that's half of that means that Stardew Valley is the most indie of indie games.
It sounds like most people these days are operating by I know it when I see it kind of logic.
Indie's an art style. No, indie's an art style. That's what people think it is.
So it's got pixel art, so it's indie.
Best debut indie game is also here. It's pretty much the same list, except you remove Dave the Diver, so it's Cocoon, Dredge, Pizza Tower, Venba, and Viewfinder.
And Pizza Tower is clearly the best debut indie game here, but it's also actually an indie game.
Yeah, that's the one that should win by default.
Is that one of those like made by one guy games, right?
I believe so. With maybe like with help. Trav, you would know best.
Huh?
Pizza Tower, how many people made it?
I don't know. No.
Best mobile game: Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis, Honkai Star Rail, Hello Kitty Island Adventure, which I'm voting for, Monster Hunter Now, and Terra Nil.
I think we can definitively say Hello Kitty Island Adventure.
There's
and move on.
The fact that it's there, it deserves to win. There's a few more we can run through again. Like a lot of these in the middle are stuff we can just kind of like the Game Awards. They don't matter. So hey. Best VR/AR game, we have Gran Turismo 7, Humanity, Horizon Call of the Mountain, Resident Evil Village VR, and Synapse.
I've heard very good things about Village VR. You guys know I don't like Village. I think it's a bad game. So the fact that I think that the Village VR is good probably means it's pretty good.
I'm curious how it compares to 7's VR, because 7's VR is the only VR game that made me motion sick. Out of anything I've played. Obviously, that's years ago, so VR is much more advanced now. I can't speak to it because I'm not spending money on a PSVR 2.
No, I'm never going to play a VR game again. Like, that's it.
Yeah. Best action game. I've been reading a lot of these. Do you want to read these off?
Armored Core 6, The Fires of Rubicon, Dead Island 2, Ghost Runner 2, Hi-Fi Rush, and Remnant 2. There's some really good games in here. I'm so pleased that we saw Armored Core come in. I think it should have been nominated for more things. I was talking earlier.
Yeah, I was surprised by that.
If this was Armored Souls, people would be loving it. But the fact that it doesn't have the Souls name there, they're just not getting it.
I'm surprised they numbered it, honestly. They should have been
the Armored Core, Fires of Rubicon.
Yeah.
Or honestly, I'm not even joking, Armored Souls, and just make it like a mashup, and people would have loved it. They would
Armored
have been
Core fans would have
for
flipped out.
Yeah, but them. There's 12 of them, right? And they haven't played a new game since like 1995.
13, because now Nico likes it.
So like, it's a naming, it's a PR issue. Armored Core 6 is the best Souls game to come out in a very long time. It's well worth playing.
Best action game. Like, action means nothing anymore, so this is just the ones we didn't put in Game of the Year. Like that's just what this category is.
I don't think Dead Island 2 would ever have a shot at even coming close to Game of the Year from what I've heard about that.
No, not at all.
Dead Island 2 is super broken. I don't know why anybody would want to play it. Ghost Runner 2, Ghost Runner's cool.
Ghost Runner's cool. I almost clicked on it, but then I skipped it because I haven't actually played it. I played the demo.
And then you've got Hi-Fi Rush, which is also cool. And then you got Remnant 2, another game that, like, when it comes to Game Pass, I'm going to be all over that shit. But
Remnant 2 is very fun. I've played it 3-player co-op, but I haven't played a lot of it. It has the same thing Remnant 1 does, where you keep playing and it keeps just throwing whack-ass curveballs at you, where you're like, wait, what is the game doing now? What? Yeah. Huh?
That's a game where eventually you just find a laser gun and that's it. That's how you play for the rest of the game.
Yeah, like it's one of those games where it's like you can see the soul's inspiration, but then it just starts to do such crazy, weird things where you're just like, what is happening? I didn't expect any of this.
I guess.
Okay. Real quick, I do want to jump in. I found out the number. If we ignore music and sound design, only 2 people made Pizza Tower.
Oh, awesome! There you go. Yeah, so that's super indie.
And it had a ton of playtesters, but in terms of level design and all that, it was just 2 people.
So maybe going forward, it would be easier if I were to, for me at least, because I know I'll just talk forever. I'll just tell you, like, if I care about any of them. I think for best action game, Armored Core is easily the winner here.
I think that's what I voted for when I was going through. Yeah.
I think that'd be the one that if I played any of these games, I would probably vote for that one.
It's one that I still really want to play.
Best action adventure game, which is not best action game. Alan Wake 2, Spider-Man 2, Resident Evil 4, Star Wars Jedi Survivor, and Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Trav, thoughts?
I think Zelda's adventure, Spider-Man action. I don't know what to pick between the 2.
Yeah,
it's like, why is Spider-Man in this category but not action?
Like Spider-Man could win action ostensibly, but there's seemingly Spider-Man is always the bridesmaid. Like Insomniac rather is always the bridesmaid. So every category.
Watch Wolverine be on the list next year.
Every category they get put into is one that's like, yeah, it's probably second, and then the one category it probably would have a chance at winning. Maybe, nope. I don't know. I'd probably say
I have no thoughts.
I'd probably say
this
Zelda.
This is the one category where I am going to give it to Zelda because that is first of all an actual adventure game, but it's good.
Why are you being so gatekeepy, Brody?
Because I just don't like genre titles like this.
Best RPG.
So here's the problem in RPG.
Yeah. Let me run through
for Sea of Stars.
Let me run through the list really quick here. Baldur's Gate 3, Final Fantasy 16, Lies of P, Sea of Stars, Starfield.
I thought you were going to stop. I thought you just weren't going to let Starfield be on the list.
We're not going to talk about it for long. It's not really.
This is the only thing that Starfield
we have a whole spoiler cast talking about it.
I mean, Baldur's Gate 3. We've talked about it a lot already.
3. That's not even a question.
16 shouldn't even be here.
Is Starfield here?
16 is only here because it has numbers that go up, but 16 is baby's first Devil May Cry game.
I'm probably the biggest Starfield apologist in this call right now, and I don't even know why it's on here.
This should be an action adventure game.
Yeah, it's an action adventure. I don't even mind Starfield. I don't think it's bad or anything. I just don't think it's an RPG. I think that it is an open world action adventure game because there's not really any choice. There's not like multiple paths you can take. You can just do the linear path this way or the linear path that way. But once you do left or right, you got to do the other one anyways. So like, there's really not a whole lot of RPG. You're not playing any role in it. So I don't know, man. I don't see why that's here.
It's regardless, I think Baldur's Gate 3 is for nerds, so I voted for Sea of Stars because I think that The Messenger was a good game.
Very good.
Yeah. Best fighting game. God of Rock, Mortal Kombat 1, Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2, which only came out like this past week, so I'm surprised it got through.
It's rigged.
I honestly, like, not to be conspiratorial, but if there's any game on any of these lists that I'm like, how did that get there? It's not bad. Game Mill sent me a code, disclosure, but that shouldn't be here. It's only here because they need 5 fighting games, and they were just like, screw it, we'll extend our deadline a week. I don't know. With how much money that Nickelodeon and co pay to get that game out there in press, and they pay money, trust me. Not that they paid me. They tried, but I'm too expensive. Yeah, that shouldn't be here. Pocket Bravery and Street Fighter 6, which everyone is probably going to unanimously say is the winner. That game's going to live.
I've heard good things about Mortal Kombat.
I've heard really good things about Mortal Kombat.
Sure, but there'll be a new one in a year. So it's Street Fighter 6. Like making a good Mortal Kombat game that you then make the same one of next time.
Yeah, I've heard good things, but it's clearly a Street Fighter 6 for me.
Yeah.
Like, it's cool that it'll have Peacemaker in it. That's all I really care about.
Yeah, Omni-Man's in it. That's neat, I guess.
Yeah, J.K. Simmons is always a welcome addition, which is why Spider-Man 2 is going to lose Game of the Year.
Best family game, we have Disney Illusion Island, Party Animals.
No, there's no point even reading these. There's also a Super Mario game in the best family.
So Mario wins. Mario wins. The only reason I'm highlighting this is, why is Pikmin 4 in here?
Dude, I would have I would have voted for Pikmin 4, but then I saw Mario.
But Pikmin 4.
I was gonna vote Pikmin 4.
That's a game where you murder thousands of creatures.
It's not a family game, though.
Yeah. Like
not
that's
it's only like 2 players, if even, and the second player. You know, the second player in Mario Galaxy, how you're just the pointer. That's your co-op in Pikmin 4. I don't like, unless you're meaning all ages games. Okay,
I think that's what they mean, right? Like family is
okay. Yeah, sure.
cartoony.
Give it to your 3-year-old that has no object permanence, I guess.
No,
and let them be the one that throws carrots.
This is the same sort of thinking as like, South Park is for kids because it's a cartoon, right?
Yeah,
like, it's the same sort of thinking.
Mario.
Obviously, this is Mario. Yeah,
I love how we didn't even mention Sonic on this list.
Sonic's there too.
Sonic's there. I was going to keep going, but once we said Mario, it's
I
Mario.
did, however, even though I don't think it'll win, I don't care. I did, however, vote Pikmin 4 in Best Sim/Strategy,
which is the next category. Do you want to read the rest, Trav?
Yeah, sure. We got Advanced Wars 1+2, Reboot Camp, City Skyline 2, Company of Heroes 3, and Fire Emblem Engage. The last one is probably the only one of these that I have seen, and I watched Justin play it while I was intoxicated.
From what I saw of Justin playing it, it is dumb.
I've seen Advanced Wars. It looks cool. City Skylines
I want to play Advanced
broken.
Wars, but I don't know anything about it.
City Skylines is broken. It's one of the most, or rather least optimized games I've ever played.
Yeah, I've been hearing about that. I've been seeing articles coming up being like, City Skyline 2 is not playable.
It's
literally.
not playable.
Like, it's not even like an insult where you go, oh, Starfield's literally... Like, no, it's actually...
It's unplayable.
I've
never played this game. I've tried. One road, and the whole game froze from too much activity. And I have a good PC. Like, I have a gaming content creation machine here, and City Skylines 2 trashed it with a single road.
There's irony to the fact that the City Skylines exists because SimCity 2014, thank you, was such a disaster, and now we're here.
Yeah, and this is like disaster.
Well, I think that they could bring it back, but I mean, it's going to take time.
Eventually, but the fact that they said, I remember before they released it, like a week or two before they released it, the guy came out, PR guy, I want to say it was one of the execs, but PR guy nonetheless, comes out and says, the game isn't optimized and it's not running great, but we still have to release it because of all the people who are excited to play it. And that, for me, I was like, the f*** are you talking about?
No, we got to release it because the shareholders want it.
Yes, we have to release it because it's the end of quarter 3. Like, we have to release it for that reason. It's trash. Unplayable. I think it should be good in another year, but I am absolutely never going to say that it deserves a vote. It shouldn't be here, and they should have taken it off.
Best community support next year, don't you worry. Best sports/racing game, EA Sports Soccer.
I voted for Hot Wheels.
F1,
yeah, baby!
Forza, Hot Wheels, and the Crew Motorfest.
And I haven't even played... I don't care. I haven't even played Hot Wheels 2. I've only played the first one.
Yeah, well, let me sing. I mean, same honestly, but let me sing that praises the content creation system in that game, where you can go and play online, and you get 5 courses to choose from. 3 of them will be user generated. 3 of them
are user generated levels, and I love that genuinely.
The creativity on display is amazing. The shortcuts that you can do in that game, because if people aren't placing checkpoints like super liberally, you can like Rocket League your way around those tracks and do whack-ass shortcuts.
Hot Wheels Unleashed, if it wasn't for Mario Kart getting DLC, I think would be my racing game pick of like the last few years.
It's amazing. It's the closest thing we've had to. It's the closest thing we've had to Mod Nation Racers in years. I love it. I love it. Yes, it's so good.
As soon as we get Uniracers rebooted, that Uniracers sweep though.
best multiplayer game presented by Discord.
I want to yell about this one too. So maybe I'll read these. We've got rigged. Baldur's Gate 3. We have Party Animals, Street Fighter 6, Super Mario Brothers Wonder, and then Diablo 4. Why is Diablo 4 here?
Are these games that people play over Discord? I don't get it.
Well, Discord's just paying
They're just
for
paying
it. But,
for it, yeah.
So the thing is, Diablo 4 technically has multiplayer, but it has multiplayer in the same kind of way that like a Destiny does, where you have a hub world and then you kind of see people out in the world, this live service kind of multiplayer. And outside of that, boy, it doesn't have anything. Yeah, you can group up, but it doesn't, like, it's not like you're getting benefits from being grouped up. You get like 10% extra experience. It's not a good experience to group up. It sucks. Being in multiplayer in this game is bad. Like, it's actively unfun. Oh, they changed it in the last season. Oh, f*** that too, man. Like, no, this shouldn't be here. It's terrible. Especially when you have Baldur's Gate 3, where you can get 3 of your best friends and play the whole campaign from start to end, right? Well, having entirely everything separate. It's very cool experience there. Why? Why is this in here?
I will say to Baldur's Gate 3, and the reason it's not going to get my vote in this category, I have 2 ongoing playthroughs of that, both of them co-op with one other player. So pretty manageable, because it's only one other player each. And I think that they did an update that makes it a little bit better. Haven't played it since, though. It's so disappointing when you realize that your co-op partner has already had an entire conversation with an NPC and you forgot to, like, join in and listen to what it was.
Yeah.
So, like, you miss content with that. Whereas Super Mario Bros. Wonder, I played that game all the way through with my wife.
You can't miss those flowers talking to you.
No, I think the multiplayer in Wonder is fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, it has its issues because my wife doesn't play the game as fast as I do, so I'm usually out in
before
front.
Before you go on, are you going to talk about its Strand-like gameplay?
I was gonna.
That's what I was talking about.
I was gonna hit that. I was gonna hit that because it does. It definitely helps, but like,
I think the couch co-op is underwhelming.
I mean, I like it, but it does have its own issues. Like, there's the whole crown system where the game doesn't zoom out to like accommodate both players. It just gives the camera to, like, whoever's doing better in the level. Which means that my wife was just constantly being bubbled and, like, catching up to me. So I'm like, I told her, I'm like, you go play it yourself, too, so you can actually play the game. Because she was really excited for it, and I feel bad, because I just ran through the whole thing. But I still think it was a really, really fun experience.
That's just, I'm not going to slow down anyway. You go play it alone.
Are we sure you're not American?
That's not the best multiplayer game by that virtue alone. I'm gonna vote Party Animals.
Right.
Okay. I don't know what that game is.
But it does have a Strand-like experience there, Kevin.
Which is
incredible. It's really good.
Yeah.
There's whole levels dedicated to it too, where it's like, here's this big empty room. Work with the other people online to figure it out. Like, you're gonna have a bad time in the single player if you're not connected online because of that. And I get it, that might be a hit against it, but it tells you, like, these are made for that. And doing it, like, it's a sense of community with people I will not know ever, is something I haven't felt since Death Stranding. You would say Dark Souls. I don't really feel that with Dark Souls.
Souls games aren't a Strand type. Like, Strand, as much as we joke about Kojima saying the Strand type concept was a new thing, he was kind of right in terms of how he designed it.
It's so much more than just seeing other people in your game. I think that it gets dismissed like that.
It's more than hold on, Brady. It's more than that. It's more than hints. If we talk about it, it's going to be 2 hours. So let's just not. Yeah. We'll save a podcast for what is a Strand type game.
I like that.
Fair,
because we will not. Yeah. I have work to do later. Best adaptation: Castlevania Nocturne, Gran Turismo's movie, which apparently was pretty okay, actually. The Last of Us.
What?
Yeah.
I heard it was okay.
But the tagline was "From gamer to racist."
Yeah.
I actually heard Gran Turismo had like some.
That's literally all I know about it. I don't care.
I heard it had some historical revisionism that actually like. It moves a tragedy in the timeline to be a motivational piece for the character, and I don't know that I like that.
That's the part. That's how movies are. I don't care. The Last of Us. That happened last.
That's like literally the adaptation part of that, by the way. Like that's them adapting it to a different format.
Yeah,
I'm fine with that.
In The Last of Us, Joel had Discord, and then he didn't, and that was his motivation. They revised it. It's fine. The Super Mario Bros. Movie. and Twisted Metal, which was the sleeper hit of game adaptation show/movies. I am surprised that was as good as it was.
The trailer
it's such a bad trailer.
So bad.
It's such a bad trailer.
So bad.
But the show is really actually, like, it's not going to win, but it's really good.
Nobody saw it. Nobody saw it.
But apparently, it's the most watched Peacock show. Like, besides,
yeah, exactly. Nobody saw it.
Yeah, nobody saw it still. But it's like, that's actually kind of impressive.
That is impressive.
Because the thing about Peacock is they do the WWE stuff. Like, all the pay-per-views are on Peacock now. And that's led to every WWE show being the most seen ever by that virtue, even though they've had their own network for a while. Last of Us is going to win.
This is the last, and it should. It should win. Yeah. Like Super Mario Brothers movie, it was successful and it was fine, but like it is nowhere near The Last of Us in terms of quality. It's nowhere near it in terms of enjoyment. It's nowhere near. I mean, it's just
even maybe reach, honestly, depending on how you like. If you do the math, The Last of Us might have still reached more people than Mario's movie did.
Like even though the Super Mario Brothers movie made infinite money, seemingly. The Last of Us is incredible. Like it's just incredible.
The Mario movie won't sell anybody new on Mario that wasn't already going to know Mario. The Last of Us show has reached more people than have ever played a Last of Us game.
Yeah, it's incredible, and it's really good. Mm-hmm. It is really good.
It made the games. It made the first game better already. I'm
sure
the first game better. I'm sure it'll make the second game better.
I think it actually does. Like immediately, if you've played the
second game,
it
does, in my opinion. Yeah,
The Last of Us show makes the second game better.
Yeah, it's what they intended to do with the games that they just weren't. They didn't know better at the time, sort of thing, which is what an adaptation should do. It should fix the problems.
Yeah.
There's two more here before we get to Game of the Year, because we're not going to go over the rest of them, because they're all esports, unless what's the best esports game?
With regards to esports coach, it's Sonic, by the way. He's the best one there.
I literally just voted for any of them that have Counter-Strike under them, because that's the only game I care about.
So
the irony that Counter-Strike sucks right now.
I don't care. I'm still having fun with two.
The only thing I know about best esports game that I'm looking at it now, it's Counter-Strike 2, Dota 2, League, PUBG Mobile, and Valorant. Counter-Strike 2 just came out.
It just came out, and it's really, like, it's missing a lot. They shouldn't have pushed it out when they did, because Counter-Strike 2 is an Overwatch 2 version of CSGO, right? Like, it's over it. You don't have CSGO anymore. You just have CS2. Same sort of thing like they did with Overwatch, where
that explains why it's here, at least.
Right, so it's been there, and it's not like it's bad or anything, because it's Counter-Strike, right?
I'm having a great time, but I'm also a really casual Counter-Strike player.
It's got its 20 years of experience behind it. It's still got a lot of, all the maps have been refined. Dust 2 is the best multiplayer shooter map of all fucking time. I hate the map. I hate it so much, but I hate it so much because I played it so much. You know what I mean? Like, when you've got 2,000 hours on a map, I'm done with that map. I never want to see it again. Counter-Strike 2 has some problems. And it's got problems that aren't really going to affect somebody like Trav, right? But it's going to affect somebody like me, who's got 5,000 hours in CSGO, right? Like, I notice these little problems, and I'm not having a hugely good time with CS2 right now. That being said, I think in a year, it's going to be, again, the best esports game. I think it's going to be absolutely the top of the pile there. If I had to go right now, it might go to Dota, but it might go to Valorant, who's been working really hard at being good. And I don't like Valorant. I think Valorant is a CSGO knockoff, but they've done a really good job of making their esports gameplay a lot better. They've done a lot of, the majors and stuff, and made it a lot more of an experience. Yes, Kevin, you're raising your hand.
I vote Pokemon Unite.
No. Pokemon Unite, I think is great.
We're not going to go through the content creator of the year. Which one's the one that doesn't exist? Spreen?
Spreen doesn't exist, but People Make Games is there.
Yeah, right? They should deserve it. They deserve it. They deserve it. They will
Their
not
Valve
win.
Stuff this year was incredible. They've done some really good stuff. Quackity is just, he's the guy who gets bumped off by Mr. Beast.
I literally only recognize People Make Games, and I had to look them up. I didn't recognize the name.
Well, so Cypher PK is a Fortnite player. Quackity, he plays all sorts of stuff, but he's the other guy who also got edited out of the Mr. Beast video when that whole drama was happening a month or two ago. And then
is he a Dream SMP person?
I don't care.
Yes.
I feel like I recognize the name.
Iron Mouse is a VTuber. And Spreen doesn't make... He's not a real Spreen. Hey, yo, what's up, guys? Like and subscribe. My name is Spreen.
Spreen is my favorite.
I think we should
Sweet
rebrand the
Tarts
podcast.
Candy.
Hey, yo, this is the Spreencast. Hey, yo.
Spreenwave Media.
Spreenwave.
People make games should win this, and they will not.
They should. They absolutely should. 100%. They will not, but they should.
We got 2 more. We're going to run rapid fire through this one and probably actually the next one because we've already talked about every one of the games in Game of the Year. Most anticipated game, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Hades 2, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, which I'm surprised made it on the list, Star Wars Outlaws, and Tekken 8.
So for me, this is 2
Quick
things.
thoughts.
Yeah, for me, this is 2 things. I think like a Dragon, it's very exciting that it's here. This is like kind of a watershed moment for this type of game, and maybe even for like Japanese games in general. But Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, I'm very excited to see what they do with this. Yeah. We've talked about it a lot, especially me and Kevin. We've talked about it a lot.
It's one of the most interesting games that's ever existed.
Very interesting. I'm so excited for them to do the same thing again and for people to be shocked.
Yeah. Hades 2, shout out to Hades 2. I didn't love Hades a ton. Like, I enjoyed it, but I fell off plus ratio because I got it on Switch and my Joy-Cons. Brody, what about you?
My vote for most anticipated game goes to Hollow Knight Silksong.
We don't.
It's not coming out next year.
If it was coming out next year... I'm
genuinely surprised that's not on the list.
If it was coming out next year, it'd be on this part of the list. Trav?
I voted Hades too because I liked Hades and it's the only thing on the list I can relate to. I mean, I want to say Final Fantasy. Still haven't played Remake, so whatever.
Sorry.
All right, what's the last one?
Well, I'm not. I didn't say my thing yet.
I keep forgetting that you have opinions. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Seven Rebirth or Like a Dragon would be my pick. I think, like you said, Like a Dragon is fascinating that it got here, and it's kind of a proof that the series made it, and it's one of the most underdog, not even comeback stories, but stories of organic growth that any game has had. That's not a multiplayer game, because that is the game that, along with Persona, but I would argue more so at this point, Yakuza, has pushed the idea of being a decidedly Japanese experience into, solely by Twitter, into this is going to be by sheer force of will, you are going to play this series because everyone recommends it, and then you will love it.
They're using the same tactics we are to become the #1 podcast.
Yeah. The fact that the series, not even 10 years ago, was not even close to like the Yakuza 0 is where it starts in terms of catching on thanks to the modern internet, and it's really, really cool to see that it's gotten to this point.
Yeah.
Especially since now, hopefully, this is the actual final end of Kiryu's story. It won't be, but it might be. Game of the Year. M, you want to read off this wonderful list of games that we've already read off?
For Game of the Year, we have Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Marvel's Spider-Man 2, Resident Evil 4, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, and The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom.
I'll go first here. I'm going to still say Zelda, because, man, what a game. Why is Resident Evil 4 here?
I think it's cool that it is, but it doesn't make sense.
I think that Resident Evil 2 Remake made sense to make it to a Game of the Year nomination because it is a completely different kind of game than Resident Evil 2 was. 4 is just the same game that we've had a million times, but slightly better. And that's really cool. I'm glad that exists, but I don't know. That's one of the things where it's not far enough removed from the core of Resident Evil 4 or from the release of Resident Evil 4 that I think it makes sense to be here, other than because it is successful. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's popular versus good, right?
Yeah, and that's fine.
And I think what's interesting about this list in particular is the omission, because there's no token indie game.
Yeah, I mean...
Where's Pizza Tower?
So, after we do this, I do have a couple of things that I'm surprised didn't show up, but I'll talk about that in a minute. So, I don't know, maybe let me go last.
Trav, Game of the Year.
Zelda. Spider-Man 2 is really good. It's really close to my Game of the Year. Zelda still takes it, honestly, because I mean, even after I beat it, like, I still wanted to go back, do everything, not literally everything, but like replay the game, re-experience that, because Tears of the Kingdom was such an amazing game. When I was done with Spider-Man 2, I'm like, all right, that was cool. I'm going to go play Mario. I'm not done with Mario, can't say. Never played Alan Wake, never played Baldur's Gate, never played Resident Evil 4 Remake. I played a little bit of the original. I thought it was confusing, and I'll play it when I'm in a better headspace. Literally, Tears of the Kingdom is one of the best games, period.
Yeah,
I think it was a phenomenal game.
Yeah. The fact that you can follow up Breath of the Wild and then make it better. The game, not that Breath of the Wild didn't have room for improvement, but the fact that you could do it again, because I was so skeptical that I didn't think they were going to be able to do it again, and then they pulled it off. Brody, I think said Baldur's Gate was what you were leaning towards earlier, right?
I mean, Spider-Man 2 and Alan Wake 2 could when I get around to playing them, I could see either of them taking
Voting ends in a week, so hurry up.
Yeah, right. Baldur's Gate 3 is a game that is absolutely incredible from what I've played, but I have not beat it. So it's hard because Mario Bros. Wonder, I can confirm, from start to finish is amazing. I love that game. And that is, like, 2D Mario, not usually my thing. This game was incredible. I feel like I have to give it to Mario Wonder because I just haven't seen enough of Baldur's Gate 3, even though, like, I kind of think it probably is still Baldur's Gate.
It's clearly Baldur's Gate 3 for me, right? Like, this is such an incredible game. It's a game that has managed to pull me in for so many hours, and I don't know. I think that this is everybody's game. It's really, really good. But I did want to highlight a few things that I was surprised didn't show up here, at least, in place of a Resident Evil 4 or even a Super Mario Brothers Wonder, where like, Wonder is certainly a Nintendo game, and that's, usually enough to show up in some of these lists. Mm-hmm. But I never felt that there was kind of the hype behind Wonder that a lot of other games get. Because, you don't see a Pikmin here. You don't see other Mario games that feel a little bit second class showing up here. And Wonder felt that way for me. Even though I know that it's a very good game and people really liked it, it feels sort of like Nintendo's second class. So I was really surprised that we didn't see like a Hi-Fi Rush show up here.
Hi-Fi should take Resident Evil's place, in my opinion.
Right. I was really surprised we didn't see that. I was incredibly surprised that we didn't see Armored Core 6 here. Like, just wildly surprised. And I think this is, again, because it's not Armored Souls. I would have liked to have seen that here. I was surprised we didn't see maybe an Octopath Traveler 2.
That didn't even get the best RPG.
Right, it didn't show up anywhere. I really thought we would have seen it in these lists somewhere. I was really surprised that we didn't see, and this is more of a, like, the popularity thing. I'm surprised we didn't see Hogwarts show up anywhere.
I have a feeling that there's a reason for that one.
I know the reason. I agree with but I'm surprised it didn't show up. Right, it came out this year, and it was just a disgustingly popular game.
It's like 20 million copies. Like, it's like the best-selling game of the year besides Zelda, I'm pretty sure.
Right, like it's a massive commercial success. It was a massive critical success. I'm really surprised we didn't see it show up here, even though I don't agree with it being here because of, J.K. Rowling. So, like, those are the games that I'm surprised we didn't see here. I am somewhat surprised at the way that Starfield has been received over the past couple of months, because the hype beforehand, if you'd asked, it would have been, it's an easy game of the year. Of course it is. It's a Bethesda RPG. It'll be right up there, just like Skyrim, just like Oblivion, just like Fallout,
I think people realized with Starfield that that Bethesda games are Ubisoft games. You get what you get, and that's it. And so it's going to be really hard for Elder Scrolls 6's hype to maintain. Like, it'll still be a very hyped game, but I think it'll be very hard for it to maintain that same level as Starfield, as this generational forever game that it wanted to be, is out of the zeitgeist in a month.
Yep. It's insane. Absolutely wild.
Spider-Man lasted longer than Starfield. Yeah. And Spider-Man is a game that you consume and move on. That is what that game is meant to be.
Yep. Yeah, so it's just wild to me. Those are the games that I am surprised we didn't see, at least in the list. I figured that they would be up there somewhere, that someone would have voted for these things.
I do have a thought I want to throw out there before we wrap up the podcast. Just throwing that out there. I'll let you finish your thought.
No, that's it. Go ahead. Okay,
cool. Well, that's the worst segue I could have ever done.
I was thinking
it was a question I wanted to ask. I don't remember if we discussed it in the pre-show or not. But what is a game that you played this year? Maybe it didn't even come out this year. It was just a game that you happened to play that you would personally nominate, at least as your own game of the year. Like something that wasn't nominated or something that, you just happened to play.
I'll go first. FPS chess.
You know what? I like that. Answer. FPS chess was a nightmare.
No, I think I'll give a shout to Shovel Knight Pocket Dungeon because
oh yeah, that's a good one.
Community support, that game should be nominated because they're doing like another 100 free updates for that game, and they like tripled the amount of content in the first update already. It is one of the best like puzzle fighter type games ever made. I liked it on Switch, and then my Joy-Con drift happened, and I just haven't I got tired of sending them in, so I just stopped. But then I reached out to Yacht Club to get on their mailing list because they were looking for more creators. And the person who runs their creator outreach was like, hey, we have you on the list for Mina the Hollower because I want to cover that because it looks very good when it comes out. Here's Pocket Dungeon if you want it. And I was like, sure, I can't promise I'm going to cover it because that's how this sort of thing goes. And I put like 20, 30, 40 plus hours in it. It's on one of Netflix's games as well, so you can just get it for free if you have Netflix. I did see
that, yeah. If you have the mobile app or whatever.
Yeah, really, really good. Really good time. We'll never get nominated for anything, but maybe it should be.
I would have liked to see System Shock Remake show up in here.
Yes, that's what I was going to say.
Oh, good shout.
Sorry, I stole it then.
No, that's okay. I'm glad I wasn't the only one that thought it.
No, System Shock Remake is incredible. Night Dive did a incredible job. Like one of the best remakes I've played. Really, really good.
Alternatively, Pizza Tower was my second answer. I don't need to go deeper in that thought. I'm genuinely surprised it only got nominated for one thing.
Xenoblade 3's DLC. I haven't played it, but I've heard it's incredible. So I'll give that a shout.
What about you, Brody?
Well, if I'm picking a game from this year,
yeah, go ahead and say Forspoken. Let's hear it.
No, God, no. It's without a doubt Talos Principle 2, but I haven't finished it. But it is incredible. It is one of the most finely tuned puzzle games I have ever played. However, that might almost be to its slight detriment, because if I'm picking a game that I played this year, it's going to be Talos Principle 1. Because Talos Principle 1, as a puzzle game, does not pull its punches, whereas 2 introduces so many new mechanics that like half of its puzzles kind of have to be tutorials. So it just never reaches that level of like
portal perfection where you
Talos 2 is portal perfection, like pitch perfect puzzle game.
Yeah,
if someone's coming into that for the first time, they're gonna have an amazing time. But having just like coming off of the back of just playing Talos Principle 1 and Road to Gehenna, which is like its hard mode DLC, I found it a bit easy. I'm kind of breezing through it. Talos Principle 1, absolutely fantastic puzzle game, but honestly, it's like come for the puzzles, stay for the writing.
I'll throw one more out because when Brody got into the third part of his 4-act story, I went to see if there's any games that we missed. I'll shout out Like a Dragon Ishin, which is the super Japanese one, like it's set in like feudal Japan. The fact that got a Western release is incredible because that was the game that fans pushed for years and years, and I think that's really cool that we got it, even if it was a weird, wonky Unreal Engine transfer of the Dragon Engine stuff. We normally have a Patreon question of the week. We have gone a little overtime. We thought this would be an hour. We thought this would be the short episode. It was not. So we're going to save that Patreon question of the week for a future week. If you want to add to the Patreon question list, go to patreon.com/Crub. We're always looking for questions. In fact, we only have a couple right now for the month of November, so it's good that we're skipping this week. We will be back next week with another question. Don't you worry. Or I'll hit whoever's on next week's episode because it won't be me.
I tell you what, I'll give you a question. Audience/chat. I would love to know what you think will be the winner of Game of the Year. But more importantly, I'm really curious which of us you think was closest, because I bet you that I'm the closest to what actually wins.
That was, I was going to say one thing before we got super onto Talos Principle, was I think that Baldur's Gate, the fact that it's as close to Zelda as it is, I think it deserves to win for that alone, if that makes sense. Because Zelda had its time in the sun, and not that this one doesn't deserve it, but it'd be really nice for the success story that is Baldur's Gate to get the win, and I think that's why it's going to. But I could easily still see Zelda winning. So, Brody's right. You're all wrong.
Okay.
Actually, the true answer is famous Twitch streamer JTart9. Genshin Impact is the best game of this year.
You're right.
Per Justin,
Yep.
and we can't argue that.
True.
Do we have any final thoughts?
I gave so many final thoughts.
Besides M?
No.
Brody, start talking about the Talos Principle so I can end the episode.
Yeah, so in